Hey everyone, welcome back. This is actually going to be part 2, a follow-up to my first video on this channel. I want to talk about why I really left the UK at 31 years old, and perhaps why it's not exactly what you think and what you've heard before from these kinds of videos. And these kinds of videos, they're doing the round. I don't know how your feed is looking, but they are going seriously viral. Why I left the UK, Broken Britain. These videos are very, very popular right now, and understandably so, I think. And the common reasons, there's kind of 3 or 4 common reasons I see that people are citing as to why they are leaving the UK, or why they're at least critiquing the UK from within inside it. Number 1 being the economy is tanking, right? Cost of living increasing, which is obviously a nasty combination. Taxes, of course, it seems as though they want more and more and more, and they're finding ways to squeeze it out. And if they're not raising taxes, they're raising national insurance for employers, and that's having all kinds of nasty effects. Crime, safety, and sort of general sort of societal cohesion rather seems to be in a really poor state. Terrible weather, obviously. And what I want to say is, I agree overwhelmingly with all of these major criticisms that people are talking about right now. And I'd be lying if I said each of these did not play a role in my decision to leave the UK very recently. However, the thing that I personally found the most insufferable, which is really saying something compared to this list, and this is the part I think that's going to surprise you, it's the collective doom and gloom of my fellow Brits. And this has been driving me nuts for years. It's almost like this ever-present cloud of negativity and actually quite a lot of woe is me and a lot of apathy, I find. People complaining very readily. And you can say fair enough, because we're defeatist as Brits because of X, Y, and Z problems. And that's why we feel, defeatist. That's why we feel deflated. Fair enough. But for me, it's this very intangible shit. You can't touch this, but this is something I feel everywhere. It's that intangible shift in the culture that's happened that I can't stand. That doom and gloom, I'm like, I gotta get away from this. This is driving me nuts. And so yes, the economy, and yes, the cost of living increasing, and yes to the crime and safety concerns. I get all of those things, but I had awareness of those things, and I've tolerated them for the best part of half a decade. I was okay. I survived paying, it's not good, it got ugly, but I survived paying, a little bit more rent every year, and a lot more rent every year, and paying more and more utility bills. And I survived doing that. I didn't like it, but I tolerated it for years. I tolerated being so conscious of where I parked my car, or not walking around busy areas with my headphones in. I think people don't realize, those are the sort of precautions I just got used to engaging in. But people from the UK, I think in many cases don't realize this is not normal behavior in many parts of the world. You don't and shouldn't have to think like this, but it's become so normal to us to take, or to me at least, to take these precautions. But that's the point, isn't it? As bad as those things were, I still tolerated them. And I think the more that you travel, the more you have a juxtaposition, a contrast that shows you just how bad these things in the UK have become. I knew it anyway, but being fortunate enough to travel a lot in the last 12 to 18 months, I can't ignore this stuff anymore. But at the same time, I still tolerated, the increased cost of living, the crime and safety concerns, the lack of social cohesion. I got on with it. I tolerated those things. But the one thing that seems to have been a deal breaker for me, seemingly in the last 12 months, I can't be around the negativity and the pessimism and the endless moaning all the time. I can't deal with another person moaning about the weather, or saying, oh, did you see this thing on the news today? Oh, it's so bad. And, just moaning constantly about the government and prime ministers. I might agree with a large proportion, a larger amount of these criticisms, but that doesn't mean I want to hear them constantly. Just for me, it doesn't feel like a growth-minded, optimistic environment where someone like me, who's admittedly a little bit happy-go-lucky, someone of that disposition, can really feel at home. Like, I don't feel as at home now in the UK anymore, because I'm surrounded by this pessimism, this doom and gloom. Like I say, as understandable as it is, it doesn't mean I'm happy to tolerate it all the time. And the difference, I know a lot of you will resonate, the difference in my mood and my attitude, my mentality when I'm abroad versus in the UK, it was starting to become a night and day difference that I simply could not ignore. And as much as I can say, look, I understand why Brits moan and complain, and they are right to do so, and I totally understand why they feel defeatist and deflated, and I don't judge them for it. I am British. I don't think badly of my people because of that. But at the same time, I still can't be in that environment anymore simultaneously. And again, the more that you travel, it's a bit of a blessing and a curse at the same time. When you do come back to the UK, you're like, this is awful. The misery, the stress, the complaining, and the lack of fight. Again, I've kind of gone on tangents here. Big shocker, I always do. But the lack of fighting spirit, it's the defeated. I don't mind people complaining, but what are the practical solutions? And I just feel like everyone's trotting out the broken Britain line and this is a problem. And I think we're believing that it might, people are still hopeful that it's going to get fixed with regime change and whatnot and new policy. And I don't see it. I think the problems are too deep-rooted. I felt this very, very strongly, and that has been a real deal breaker for me. I couldn't ignore those feelings any longer, and that is why I've now left the UK. And where am I now? Where have I chosen to set up shop? Well, I'm actually in Prague, in Czechia, which sadly isn't a great option for many Brits given passport residency issues there. I'm fortunate enough to have a second passport which allows me to live and work here very, very easily. I appreciate this is not such a viable option for Brits, but I'm not here saying my template is the one you need to take. If you are curious, I am going to make lots of videos about this. If you're curious about why I chose here and what life looks like here and my first impressions, let me know in the comments. I am intending to make videos on those things, but give me your best questions and I'll answer those in future videos. And it's a beautiful city, and that's my first impression. I've been here before. I've spent a decent amount of time here before I chose here. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I don't know how. It's long term, but I don't know how long term it is. Certainly, I imagine the next 1 to 2 years. It is. I have set up here. It is my official base now. It is my official home, and yeah, really, really excited about it. And the first impression is a really, really positive one. So I'm excited to talk more about that. Let me know, yeah, follow-up questions. But this is why, in the comments below, but this is why I've left the UK, and I think we'll wrap it up there. I have got more to say. I've got loads. I go on and on, but yeah.